Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Question that has been asked on this channel for a very long time. Who is Anunnaki? The American pronunciation of the word, whereas the Britishers call it Anunnaki. So Anunnaki or Anunnaki, is it one? Is it more than one? What is the reality of it? Where did it come from? How Sumerians learn about it? And who created that religion for Sumerians where Anunnaki was in such a high place? What is the role of this Anunnaki in Sumerian religion? And many other questions that are coming from you to me is what we would like to address today. First of all, who or what are Anunnaki? So Anunnaki are a group of deities in the Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian mythologies. The term Anunnaki, it likely means those of royal blood or offsprings of Anu, referring to the sky god Anu, who was a central figure in Sumerian religion. When you look at Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki are depicted as powerful divine beings, often associated with cosmic order, justice, and the administration of earthly affairs. They were believed to reside in heavens and the underworld and were responsible for overseeing the fates of humanity and the natural world. The Anunnakis are actually plural. They refer to a collection of gods or collective gods rather than a single deity. However, individual Anunnaki could hold specific roles and be named in myths, such as Anki, the god of water and wisdom, or Enlil, god of air and storm, and Inanna, which is the god of love and war. As far as the origin and the role in Sumerian religion of Anunnaki is concerned, so remember the Anunnaki originated in Sumerian religious thought and mythology, likely evolving from earlier Mesopotamian cultural traditions such as those of the Ubaid culture that we have talked about in great details before. And as far as the role of Anunnaki in Sumerian religion is concerned, so the Anunnaki were considered mediators between the higher gods like Anu and Enlil and humanity. They were involved in key myths such as the creation of humans, the flood, and the administration of the justice and kingship. And one of the theories suggests that these Anunnakis came from another planet to the planet Earth. And this is one theory which has not yet been proven. And they used the humans to mine for them. And they were mining gold for Anunnakis who were collecting all this gold to take it back to their planet and create a shield so that their planet be protected. And these humans were produced by Anunnakis, and there's a whole sort of theories that go beyond that in that regard. So if you're interested in me talking about all of that details, let me know in the comment section below, and we can talk about all of those underlying details that people talk about through their own interpretations. And in the cosmic functions, in Sumerian cosmology, Anunnakis often act as judges in the underworld or administrators of earthly domains. They were central to rituals and temple practices which were designed to honor them and maintain divine favor. So comes the question, okay, then how did the Sumerians actually learn about the Anunnaki? Well, the Sumerians likely conceptualized the Anunnaki through oral traditions or observation of natural forces and the interpretation of cosmic and social phenomenon. Their belief about the divine were heavily influenced by the predecessor cultures like the others who have lived in this region, like the Ubaid people. So the Anunnaki may have been inspired by the early Ubaid spiritual practices, or the Sumerians interpreted celestial events such as the movement of stars and planets as evidence of divine beings' presence and actions. And each Sumerian city or state emphasized its patron gods, who were often part of the Anunnaki. Over time, these deities formed a pantheon. So, well, who thought of this Sumerian religion and who created it? So Sumerian religion was not created by a single individual, as we know, but evolved organically over centuries through the collective practices, myths, and traditions of the Sumerian people. Priesthoods, temples, and the needs of early city-state formalized and institutionalized these beliefs. So what do we know about the Anunnakis from Sumerian texts? Well, most of what we know comes from the cuneiform tablets. Myths like Enuma Elish, which is the creation epic, and the epic of Gilgamesh, and the Atrahasis, hymns and inscriptions describing rituals and divine genealogies. All of these things we learn from the cuneiform tablets. And if you're interested, we can talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh. We can talk about the Enuma Elish. We can talk about some of the other things as we have learned about them in a little bit of details. And again, whatever details you need, let us know in the comment section, and then we'll talk about those things. Also, one of the key textual themes that we learn about is the creation of humans, where the Anunnaki, often led by the Anke, are said to have created humans to serve the gods. And also, when it talks about a great flood, in which the Atrahasis, the Anunnaki are involved in deciding to flood the earth, but also in sparing humanity through guidance to a chosen hero. And also in the underworld, some Anunnaki were associated with the underworld and presided over the fate of souls. A lot of these concepts were part of the Sumerian civilization and were extremely important elements of their religion. And the Anunnaki concept influenced later Mesopotamian cultures and appears indirectly in the myths and religious systems across the region. So, for example, when you start studying Babylonian and Assyrians, the Anunnaki were reinterpreted as a broader group of divine beings or merged with other celestial gods. And if you look at the Ugaritic cultures, you will find some parallels that exist in the assembly of gods, like the Council of Baal in Ugaritic texts. Or if you look at the Greek mythology, the idea of a council of gods, like the Olympians, shares thematic similarities with the Anunnakis. So we see a lot of these things that are found in other religions that were hit by it. So some of the similar characters that we find in other cultures, like the Olympian gods in Greek, a pantheon of gods with specific roles, similar to the Anunnaki's division of responsibilities. Similarly, in the Norse, deities with hierarchical and functional roles is similar to the Anunnaki's organization, like the Aesir and the Vanir. Similarly, the Devas and the Asuras in Hindus were divine beings with cosmological and mythological functions resembling the Anunnaki's dual cosmic roles. You can find that. So, if you look at the reality of the modern interpretation of the Anunnakis, the modern interpretations include some pseudo-scientific and fringe theories, like one by the Zechariah Sitchin, who claims that these are extraterrestrial origins of these entities. And then, however, if you start looking at it from a scientific perspective, this is not supported by scholarly evidence. And academic consensus views the Anunnaki as mythological figures deeply rooted in Sumerian religious and cultural contexts. So our knowledge that comes about the Anunnaki comes from the vast corpus of Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian cuneiform texts excavated in the Mesopotamian archaeological sites. Scholars deciphered these texts using the Rosetta Stone for comparative linguistics and have pieced together the myths and religious beliefs of ancient Mesopotamia through extensive study and comparison. Now comes a very important question that some people put on the table, especially those who do not believe in religion or do not believe in Abrahamic religion. And they're like, okay, we also have this concept of Elohim in the ancient Hebrew. Don't you think that is also inspired by the Sumerians? And what about the Abrahamic religions, which seem to have some indirect influence from the Sumerian culture and narrative, such as the one about the flood? And also, don't you see some similarities in Abrahamic religion to some of these ideas that are presented in Sumerians? Now, let me draw this conclusion and my 2 cents from this. As you know, that over the period of time, as humanity was, as this is the Islamic perspective, 100%, I'm talking from the Islamic perspective, that is Muslims believe that from the day one, Adam and Eve are the parents of all the humans. Adam and Eve. They were created in heavens and they were sent down to the planet Earth. Without going in a lot of details. And humans came from Adam and Eve. Humans were not created by Anunnakis to excavate gold and be transported to another planet where they can be protected. After reading about the Anunnakis, what I could think of, that over the period of time, because the teachings given to the people by the God were not preserved as they should have been preserved, so they got distorted over the period of time. For example, we see that after Adam alayhi salam, among his descendants, there were people who left Islam, the true religion, which basically tells you to believe in one and only one God and worship one and one God alone, and that's it. And believe in Him alone, believe that there is a life after death, believe in the hell and the heaven, believe that one day you will be in front of your God and you'll be answerable for your deeds, believe in the destiny, and believe in the prophets of God, believe in the angels, that they exist, believe in the books of God, all of these basic tenets. So they have always been taught. They've always been taught to the humanity from day one. That's why when Adam alayhi salam was sent to the planet Earth, it was clearly stated, فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُم مِّنِّي هُدًى فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. That from this point onward, there will be a constant coming of the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the prophets. So prophets were sent to each and every nation in this world. And anybody who did not directly get the prophet will be tested on the day of judgment. So they will not be tested based on their life that they have lived, but rather will get a brand new test that we've talked about in the past. So how about those who received the guidance and over the period of time, the guidance got corrupted? Now think about it. How in the world humans in different cultures and societies came to know about an existence of a celestial body called God? How did they do that? It's just not possible. At some point in time, a messenger delivered a message of God to them, telling them about the oneness of God. But over the period of time, it got corrupted, either because it was not preserved or because there were people who corrupted it. So my take is that upon reading about the Anunnakis, where they are considered to be the caretakers of things, and they're appointed, and they're powerful beings, and they maintain the order, the justice, it may be that they are the angels that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appointed to do different things. Some angels are responsible for taking care of the affairs of life after death, which they thought of, think, okay, these are the angels associated with underworld. That the angels that take care of the fate, the angels that take care of the things that run around in the world, the angels that take care of the whole system of the universe or in the heavens. It's quite possible that over the period of time, the idea of angels got corrupted. Exactly like the people of Makkah. They didn't have the clear picture about angels. They used to call angels daughters of God. Astaghfirullah al-azim. And as we see in the biblical text also, they are referring to angels as sons of God. So these ideas might have distorted over the period of time, and different ideas were born from them. And when the corruption started, there was no end to this corruption. They just kept building on it. So yes, the Noah's flood is reported and recorded by everybody. If you go to the Hindu scriptures, if you go to the Sumerian tablets, if you go to the other civilization, so the flood of Noah happened. But the details of it were corrupted, because it was all by the word of mouth. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent prophets after prophets after prophets telling the real truth. A good example to understand is that Jesus, other than Muslims, everybody believed that Jesus was crucified. Islam came and said, no, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. Neither you killed him nor you crucified him. وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. It was made to believe for you that that's exactly what happened, because that's how the circumstances played. But he was neither killed nor crucified. However, rather he was lifted up in the heavens only to be sent back. But you got distorted. فَاخْتَلَفَ الْأَحْزَابُ مِنْ بَيْنِهِمْ. They started fighting among each other because they didn't have the correct understanding of what really happened. And some of them elevated him, even though he was a prophet, to the status of the Son of God. Some started worshipping him. Some started saying bad things about him and committed blasphemy and call him that he was an illegitimate child, astaghfirullah al-azim. Or started calling Mary, the mother of Jesus, names. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala corrected all of those misconceptions in the Quran, and in fact created an entire chapter in the Quran called Mary. So Quran at one point in time talks directly to the people of the book, and at the same time talks to all the pagans, the idol worshippers, and if you look at it, all the idol worshippers somehow, give and take, have similar thought process and similar psychology and similar philosophy and similar kind of text. So they're all addressed differently. And then we see that Quran also addresses those who do not believe in God. So all of these things are being taken care of in the Quran from different angles, different perspectives. So that's why it's considered to be the final judgment, the final call. So that's my take on it, that these people got everything distorted. The word of mouth got mixed with the local cultures, and local cultures who had some remnants of true faith with a lot of corruption. So it now started having a very, very corrupt religion with some remnants of the information that was getting passed down. What were angels became gods, exactly like the people of Makkah is a good example. They would worship jinns, they would worship idols, they would worship anything and everything. Look at Hindus today. They worship mouse, they worship snake, they worship fire, they worship sun, they worship I don't know what else. Millions and millions of gods and goddesses they got. And then they started personifying things. They started calling the gods and goddesses out of the natural bodies, out of the celestial bodies. So this is how my take on it. This whole process is how the information that was once sent by God through his prophets was corrupted and was changed. However, it does have some elements of it. That's why when Ibrahim alayhi salam, presented the right thing, people could not understand it, so they refused it. The similar message was carried on even after him by his children, or before him by others. Anyway, let me know in the comment section below about the things that you want me to talk about in detail, and inshallah we'll talk about those in detail as well. But that's what my understanding about the Anunnakis. Till next time, Assalamu alaikum.